Boy.
All right, should we talk about blocking?
Let's do it.
I feel like hello, Scott, but I feel like we should talk about blocking here because that's what we've come here to do. So, for those of you that have got here, thank you for coming to the blocking clinic. We're just going to get started. Jez here it's me. I am Coach Brian Thornton, and we have Coach Brent Asuka and Coach Jez Nueve, who are going to. Jez is really just doing he's the guy behind the guys. He's doing all the camera work and stuff. He's really good. He's gotten really good at this.
The way it's intended.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a clip, and I'm just going to talk about blocking from the very beginning. I don't know. The truth is I've only seen this clip once, and so it'll be fun to just kind of talk through exactly what we're seeing. So without further ado, I believe this is Stanford and
Stanford USC.
Stanford SC. So we're going to start there, and then, guys, we'll end up with after watching a clip of 18th, and I think it's Amara.
We have two, actually.
So, Jez, let's play it out in slow-mo here, and let's pause it when they get into base position.
Perfect. I'll pause it off the pass.
Some good slow-mo. I like it.
So right here, stop.
Oh no, somebody tried to get in. Pause. Oh no. So much for you jinxed me, bro.
So pause. Right after Jez, I just sung his praises about how
you jinxed me, bro. You jinxed
me. That is my fault. That is totally my fault. So one thing that you want to see here, if we're actually I'm not going to make him go one second back, but if we go 1 second back, you'll see that actually the right side blocker is not perfectly balanced here right now. But before in one clip, she is perfectly balanced, and you'll see there's this nice space to them, but you'll see how they all look the same. And so their knees are slightly bent. Their arms are about, you can't tell with the depth to the net. But to the net, their arms are about, if you put your elbows to your sides and you stick your arms out, kind of looks like this. That's the distance that you should be to the net. So the reason why you want to be at that distance is because you want to get over the net. And if I'm really, really, really tight to the net, then I got to go, and I'm going straight up and I'm getting high. And there's very, very few times where we actually want to chase the ball high. It's very, very rare that we use that move. So we really want to work on getting over the net, and that's why you want to start there. So when you jump, you give yourself some space and some room to throw your hands over the net and go block the ball. So you'll see they're really, really balanced right now. This is the starting position, arms up. Just in a nice, comfortable space, ready to make a move. I would say if I had to get really, 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 really specific, I would say the left front, her feet, she's a little wide. Her feet are a little wide, but turns out she's like one of the best players in the world, so I'm sure she's fine. But her feet are a little wide if we're being perfect here. Same thing with the other end blocker. The middle looks great. I mean, that is really, really just a classic position. Now, you'll look, a lot of times you hear questions about arm position and why you're starting there. Okay, you're starting there so you can make a quick move directly as soon as you know where it's going. Like say they set middle. That middle makes a quick move directly from her elbows right over the net. So what happens, it used to be back in the day, way back in I don't even know what I'm going to say, maybe longer than 10 years ago, okay? It used to be that you would start with your hands really, really high. And the problem is while maybe a little more intimidating, I guess, I don't know, it never intimidated me as a setter to see someone with their hands high. That didn't do it for me. But what it does is it causes you to shoot your hands to be faster right over the net, because the way the body works is if I have my hands high and they set a middle of the court, they set quick or they set a 1, I'm going to drop my arms anyways in order to jump up. That's how I have to jump up. So you want to start with your arms there, so you take that portion out and you're faster over the net to the ball, and you go ahead and you're going to block more middle of the court. So that's the reason why you want your arms right there versus being super, super high. All right, and then the next thing I want to talk about is we get into a vision sequence. So I'm sure you guys have all heard there's a bunch of different ways. It's the basic formations: ball setter, ball hitter. So we're going to talk about that vision sequence here today for a little bit. We're going to always reference that. There are lots of variations that coaches use for little different tweaks here and there for what they believe in. We'll go through that a little bit too. So the very first thing you want to look at as a blocker is the ball as it's being passed. The only thing the number one thing that I'm evaluating right then is this ball going to be an overpass? Because if it's going to be an overpass, you're going to go ahead and slam that thing down. Right, Anna?
Yes.
Anna, yeah. Anna's going to hit the overpass. She's going to slam that thing down when she sees it coming. So I want you to be really, really be aware of that. That's the first thing you're looking for. Once you know that it is not an overpass, so you know that ball is not coming over the net and we're not going to have to go on offense right away, our vision is going to switch right to the setter. So that's why it's ball setter. So as soon as you know it's not an overpass, you get right to the setter, and preferably the setter's hands, because this is where all that nice information is coming from. That's where you want to be seeing the setter's hands. And there's sometimes some little different things that setters do that we'll get into, but little things to read a setter that tell you basically what they're going to set. So right now you'll watch their vision shift. So if Jez goes super slow-mo, you can see how their vision right now, look at their heads.
We'll run it from the beginning.
So let's pause it when the balls, their heads will snap over. So it's a little late.
Sorry,
right? That's good. Peripherally's in the middle. Let's pause it right when it's in the setter's hands. Boom.
Wow.
So, really nice pause, Justin.
Wow, yeah,
I would have passed that up, and I would have felt terribly about it later. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you, Brian.
Well, no, thank Brent. Like I'm saying, Brent's the one. I was just going about my business, and I forgot to thank you, and I just want.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Thank you. It's a lot of work.
So right now, you'll see their eyes will get to the setter's hands, right? That's where you want to be. That's where all the information is. But there's some other stuff going on. Rarely you want to be looking at the feet, but you see the arch of her back right there? That tells us it's probably going to be an overhead set. That means like a red, a slide, a D, a back one. What else is there? Anything behind the setter. So anything behind the setter, a lot of times setters do this, and you'll see, I have seen her set other balls. She doesn't set goes like this. So as a blocker, you want to be looking for differences between those setters. What are those little unique things that each setter has that they give away what they're going to set? And as a middle, one of my things that I would be doing, I was a really small blocker, so I did do everything that I possibly did. So in warmups, I would literally be watching just the setter over and over again, trying to get every little possible cue and every little possible cue for the hitter. Oftentimes, I watch teams, and while the other team's warming up, they'll be, tick-tocking or whatever. No one's ticky-talking during warm-ups. I don't know why I said that. But you guys aren't paying attention to the stuff that's going on the court. And during hitting lines, girls and guys both will start giving up their primary and secondary shots. Basically, at this level, everyone has a primary or secondary shot. So in warm-ups, I'd be watching, what the setter's doing and how they set difference and what the hitters are hitting. And they give up a ton of information because people are patterned.
I have a question, Brian.
Whoa!
I know. So I think a lot of players think that the middles have to just watch a setter like that because they have to go both ways, but you're a right side blocker. Why? What's the benefit of you watching for setter tendencies as a right side blocker?
Well, Brent, the answer is because I was very, very, very short. No, I'm just going to ask the question again. I got a little sidetracked. What'd you say halfway through?
No, so I think a lot of kids think that the middles need to be watching when the warm-ups and stuff because they have to go both ways.
I see.
But you're a right side blocker, and you don't have to go really. I mean, I know you triple block, but what's the benefit of knowing what the setter is setting from a right side point of view?
I mean, there's a couple of different benefits, and really good question, by the way, Brent. But in all honesty, one was really I was super short and had to do whatever I could take to find all these little things in order to get me some blocks. And the second thing is if it's going to get you more blocks, that helps the team. And if you see something and you notice things and you go tell, all of a sudden maybe I see something that Anna doesn't. Me and Anna are two different people. You know, Anna's going to see things a little different than I see things. Brent's going to see things. People see things a little bit differently, and that's cool. That's great. That's what makes this fun. And so Anna will say, you know, I see the setter doing this. I'm going, oh, I didn't see that. You know, I've watched a ton of volleyball my whole life, but I can't see everything, and I don't see everything. And sometimes Anna sees something better than I do. And so Anna sees something and is like, she turns to me, even though she's a right side or she's a middle and I'm a setter, and she's like, hey, by the way, this happens when the setter does this. This is what they always said. Or when the set's going this, is the hitter always hits. And just that little communication is actually what wins matches. You know, those little communications and those efforts and being able to say that to each other and all be on the same side, figuring that stuff out, is what turns good teams into great teams. Actually, I think it's communication. So, you know what would be nice is if we watched a single blocking clip in this blocking clinic. Guys, we're getting there. I promise. All right. So after that, where were we? We are on, as you see there, on the setter's hands. You could see that she's curving. Her back is curved. There's a big arch. You'll see that a lot. That's a dead giveaway for going back. She sets her fours also a little lower. Where she's taking the ball, her hands are a little bit higher. So all these cues are things you should be picking up right here as a blocker. You should be seeing that visually and picking up all that information. Now, one thing that's, I think, super important is while we are picking up these little cues and tendencies that these players might have, we put them in our brain, but we react to what's actually happening in front of us. Because, you know, sometimes different stuff happens. Volleyball is random and you have to be able to respond. So let it help you, like put it in a situation where you're playing the percentages of there's a chance that this is going to happen, but always be ready to react to what actually does happen, which I think is a really, really important lesson. So after the setter will release the ball here, you'll watch their eyes. So watch how long. There's a couple of different schools here. So right now it's ball setter, where the set is out of the setter's hands and we're back on the ball. Now, the way of thinking about this, there's a couple of different ways. So you'll see them start swinging out here. There's a jab step. What you'll see is that, let's go back. Let's talk about their footwork real quick here, actually. So you'll see that the pin blocker here on the left side will have one quick jab. And that's exactly what you want. No negative steps, just a really quick jab as soon as she responds to what happened. The middle gets covers some ground with her step. She gets a pretty nice first step here, covers some ground, and takes some big steps to get there. This is really, really nice stuff in terms of footwork. So anyways, one of the things that you see is as you're following the ball, a lot of the way of thinking used to be follow all the way to the peak, all the way to the peak, all the way to the peak. And yeah, that's true. But an interesting thing we started finding in a lot of the best blockers all over the world was that they were actually on the ball a lot longer than we had thought. So we had thought that it was to the peak and then you get on your hitter and you're seeing all the information. But what we found is actually the longer that you were on the ball as it was in the air, the more blocks those particular players were getting. And the reason is because they were getting one look. It put them in a better spot. So rather than getting to the player, they're on the ball longer, a little bit longer. When? A lot of the best blockers that we're seeing now are getting to the hitter almost right when the hitter jumps. So the reason that this is kind of developing this way is because it causes you to get in a better blocking spot along the net. You get to that spot to where the ball is going to land and you put yourself in a little better position. Then after that, when you get to the hitter, more specifically, when you get to the hitter, it usually looks like you shoot your eyes. Actually, it was pretty cool. They did this experiment with blockers where they put goggles on defenders and blockers, so you could actually see on the best ones. You could actually see their vision sequence. And when it gets to the hitter, all the best ones, Karch included, it goes straight from the shoulder and then up to the hand on contact. So there's actually a little step there that people miss where you see the shoulder because you're seeing how their body's working. So you look, and you guys probably even do this without knowing that you do it, which is the coolest aspect of it. But as soon as you get to the hitter, you make a really quick judgment. So you make a judgment based upon what their body's doing and how their hands basically contacting the ball. So that's when you get to the hitter. That's the stuff that all the best blockers are actually seeing when they're blocking the ball. Gosh, what was I going to say? There was something that was pretty cool, but I forgot already. Anyways, so after that, you want to get to the hitter, see that stuff, see all the stuff on the hitter. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The reason why also that it's a better thing to watch the ball a little bit longer is not only did it put you in a better spot, but it allowed you to make better moves after jumping. And the reason why you could make better moves is because you guys have all experienced when you think you see something and then you second guess yourself. And usually your intuition is right. Usually. Intuition's crazy, guys. It's nuts. Like, it's science. We don't understand why it's there. We don't even fully understand it, but it's totally there. We have great intuition. Believe in that as a human. And that's another reason of why this actually ends up working out better, because you jump in the air, you make one decision, you're seeing one thing, you have no time to second guess yourself, and you make one big move to where the ball is, to where the ball is going, based upon all that stuff that your brain and your eyes are quickly firing and analyzing. So once you're up over the net, the first thing you want to do, you want to attack the ball. You want to shoot your hands over the net where you think you're going to go. Visually, once you're on the hitter, stay on the ball and keep this is the most difficult thing ever, but keep your eyes open when you jump into the air and try your best not to, because you want to be seeing that stuff. That's the exact same time that you're going to be making a move, rather than dropping your head or closing your eyes. And it's scary. I'll tell you, those guys are hitting the ball like really, really hard at your face. I closed mine. I was scared. You know, I'll be very honest about that. It is scary. It takes a long time and develop some discipline to keep your eyes open. And it's never going to be 100%. Every once in a while, you're going to get a little flinch going. You know, it's just the reality of it. Anyway, the one big thing too, what you'll see here is that Catherine Plummer, by the way? I can't really tell from.
No, that's.
So what you'll see, her vision's really, really, really good right here. So she keeps her head up, her eyes open. She sees that hitter kind of drops her arm, her eyes are on the right stuff. And because she sees that, her eyes are open, she's able to reach, make a move. One thing, when you're making moves blocking, a lot of times you don't want your hands to be this close together. Who cares if it goes through? Take the chance. You don't block. How many people have ever blocked a ball in my entire career? I think I only blocked like 2 balls in my whole life with both hands on it like this. Everything is one hand. One hand. Independent moves, block what you see. So you make independent moves outside of your body. So what she does here is, you'll see, she sees the tip, and she literally sees it, reaches outside her body and throws it down. Let's watch it, Jess. Yeah. So that's a really, really, really nice blocking move right there. Really, really nice vision. Now, it's volleyball, right? So not everything's perfect. So let's watch that, pull up that next clip, Jez, with the recovery. One thing that I preach, and I preach a ton. By the way, there's so much more to blocking. Guys, this is really, really fast. We could talk forever about this, so just kind of, or I could, clearly. So just, know that there's a ton more than that, and if you have questions, ask away. I love talking about blocking, by the way.
And if you do have questions as we go, guys, don't forget to type it into the chat, and we can kind of go over those at the end of this thing too.
Thank you, Mr. Jez. And so if you're watching this, one thing that you'll see is why do I say if you're watching this? You're here. You're obviously watching this. That's terrible. Just a terrible thing to say in this form.
Terrible.
Anyway, what you'll see here, sometimes you're going to make a bad read middles. Holy cow, does that happen a lot? Guess what, guys? This is part of it. That's life. You're never going to get to the point. It's funny, I talk to a lot of I'll just say it, whatever, parents. And a lot of people will talk about how they're expecting almost like that you're blocking and you're reading that you should a really good middle will read perfectly every single time. Not possible. Best middles in the world are basically reading right at that low. I mean, maybe 50%, 60%. I mean, it's much lower than you think. You're never going to get to the point where you read every single thing. It's just never the case. But when you misread, which is going to happen over and over again in a match, you have to react. So one thing, don't give up. There are two things you can do as a middle or an off blocker if you get beat, if you get juked out by a good setter, which happens. There's two things you can do. What you'll see here is a nice recovery move. So let's watch it. She gets juked out. She still works hard. She two steps. So she takes two really, really quick steps. It's a jab, a shuffle, and then it's like a quick two. I think I call it a quick two. So you'll see how she does that, and really all you're doing is just shooting your hands over the net. That's all you're doing is recovering as fast as you can, throwing your hands over the net, and you're going to get stuffs like that more often than you think because hitters see that open space. They don't expect to be in there, and you're going to go ahead and dive in there and get it. I didn't talk about hips, and that is really, really poor coaching on my part. So I didn't talk about hips blocking, and that's poor coaching on my part. You want your hips to be – actually, let's watch Amara's.
Beautiful.
All right, let's get Amara on this. Let's watch Amara's clip.
You have Amara and Lydia, 2 clips.
AJV 1602.
Okay.
Here we go. This one's the Amara one.
So we went all over the reading. Let's watch Amara. Okay. Brent's going to go over that next. But I do like how aggressive Amara is being here in this zone.
I'm going to slow this down.
What you see is as the setter, one thing that we're talking about is the setter crosses a half. We call this a her half setter or his half setter. That means, actually, I never even called it that until Amir came on staff. You know, like I always said, you were either against the flow or not. He put that vocabulary in me, and I don't know if I like it, but I'm going to continue using it. Anyway, so we all call her a her half or his half setter. And so what that means is she's most likely, a really high percentage of the time, she's only going to set fours here. Because there's nothing going back. I think, does she have a hitter back there? Yeah, she does have a hitter in the front row. But her chances of setting that are so low. Look at how Amara is the left side blocker. She's in there real tight, being aggressive in case she's going to go 3. So we block with 3 at this level because I didn't block with 3 players last year. I want to be clear. It's about the makeup of the team. You don't always block with 3. Last year, we were not a block with 3 team. That was not us. This year, my team was full of great left side blockers. All three of our left side blockers are really, really, really good left side blockers. And so because of that, we wanted to push them over and block a ton of balls with them because they were so good. By the way, I don't know if you guys so anyways, that's why she's in there that tight under that situation. And she still recovers, and Amara's super athletic. So she's able to get out here, swing over, and make a really nice move. Let's check out her hits. So she swings it, jab step. Ooh, look at that. Really nice straight spine. Getting up, by the way. Nice recovery, too, from the middle. But getting up right there. And that is, look at her hips. So her right hip is coming off a very, very, very little bit. You can barely even see it. But really, you want to keep that inside hip on the net. That way I can get my inside hand over the net and go stuff some balls. So that's the reason. Yeah, Ella's right. She's texting there. She's saying, okay, Amara, and she's right. Amara, this is great stuff by her. So let's play it through.
And jet.
Yeah, really nice hips. They come off a little bit at the end. So you really want to work on keeping that hip, and it's tough to do because you're used to turning, and you have to learn how to do that while also transitioning quickly off the net, especially for setters. It's an issue. So really want to keep your hips parallel to the net as much as possible, making independent moves with your hands.
Is that Alyssa in the middle? She makes a pretty good move to fill the seam too. Like
Alyssa makes good recovery moves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You are correct, Brent.
Yeah, that's a really nice recovery move for her, too. Alyssa made a really nice recovery move there. Great celebration. Look at Anna's celebration. How about that? Talk about, guys, let's not even talk about blocking anymore. Let's talk about being fired up for our teammates.
Talk about her defense, too, real quick.
Not only this, yeah, she's in there. She's playing defense. Look, she's not scared, Brent. And she's in there. And then look at this stomp. She's got a stomp for her teammates because she's so excited. That's just fantastic teamwork.
That's a lot of excitement from you there, too, Brian.
Was it? Did I show emotion, guys? I
Yeah.
rarely show emotion, so that was.
Let's see it.
Jimmy's completely stoic. You're a little.
Yeah.
Got a couple claps in there.
That was emotional for me, guys. So that was actually at our tournament, and this was in Austin, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got one more of these if you want to check out. We got Lydia.
Yeah, this one's good too. You gotta
Oh,
watch this one too.
why not? We watched. This is in Austin. We got bronze at this tournament earlier in the year.
Really good move back into the court right here.
This
So-
is ridiculous. This is ridiculous too.
So let's pause from the beginning. So this is Lydia is played. I think Lydia's actually played every position. Lydia, are you here?
Yeah,
She is here.
she's actually taking notes too, if I'm not mistaken.
Can you unmic yours? Can you?
Look, dude.
She is unmuted. Lydia, you're on too.
Lydia, are you there?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Did you play every position?
Yeah.
So Lydia played every single position, and that included in the middle. So she has some
I
really.
set when I was 12. I'm proud of that.
What about libero? You play libero?
I have in high school.
No way, really?
Mhm.
Oh, nice.
Cool. So Lydia's done it all, and she's a really good blocker, and she reads the game really well. And actually, part of the times that I messed up, just from a coaching standpoint with Lydia, was just not letting her play. Sometimes I was a little, and that was my bad. And so it's funny, like we all make mistakes. I for sure did that. We talked about it. I did that early on in the year to Lydia, where I was overloading her a little bit. But we're good. You made it. And now, so anyways, Lydia responds really, really well right here to a play. She played middle of time. She has really, really good vision. So you can see, even as a right side blocker, this is a slower three. She's going to respond to that, make yourself available and go stuff this ball. So look how far out it is. She reads it, sees them coming inside, swing blocks in, gets all the way in, and goes stuff that in the middle of the court. You're never out of the play. So what you'll see, what Lydia reads here is that the outside hitter comes inside. And there's nothing for her to do over here as a right side. So because she picked that up early and her vision sequence is good, she's able to go in there and just absolutely commit on this thing. And then we win this, and we win a bronze medal, and we celebrated and took a picture.
And watch Jimmy, everyone. Just watch Jimmy, everyone.
Where's Jimmy? I want to see Jimmy. Jimmy's my favorite reactionary.
Yeah.
Look at that fire from the guy right there.
At least he didn't throw his clipboard. That's good.
Yeah, Jimmy's reactions are amazing. If you guys have ever seen, I don't know if he's on this call. I kind of hope not. Now that I'm what I'm about to say, but if you've ever seen that what?
Pretty sure he is.
If you've ever seen that really strong kangaroo,
Oh, wow. We gotta find that, Jazz. That's what you gotta get on.
If you've ever seen the really buff, the really strong kangaroo, we'll pull it up at some point. But there's a block that someone gets. I think it was last year.
It was last year. Yeah.
And Jimmy just straight flexes on the sideline, and I mean it was a dead ringer for that. He was the strong kangaroo, and I cherish that moment. So sorry about all my tangents, everybody. You came here for just only blocking.
Hey, Vanessa, do we still have that video of Jimmy throwing his clipboard too?
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta bring that back.
When did this become about me?
Jimmy, it is always about you, Jimmy.
Okay, so sorry about the tangents. I apologize. Hope it was a little entertaining. And now, without further ado, Brent Asuka to teach you some stuff that I'm ready to learn. Asuka, I don't know about you.
I'm gonna ask you some questions, so you're gonna have to jump in here.
I might ask. I don't know what you're teaching, so I'm curious.
Well, we're gonna go over commit blocking, which is a little bit more of an advanced tactic. How often, or Jimmy, or since Jimmy's here too, how often would you say you commit blocked at that tournament in Texas?
Probably about 97% of the time.
No, okay.
Are you
So
serious?
everyone at home, no, it was not 97%.
It was pretty close.
But we were and just to explain, that was because you don't do it to explain to everyone. The only reason that when you're doing commit blocks is when you know what the other team is going to do, or you have not that you know, but you have an idea. I try to do quick math in my head that it's over 60 or 70. I feel like I have an over 70% chance of getting it. If I feel like it's somewhere in that range, then I'm like then we'll do it. But it's not like something you do every time. I just want to be clear. It's when we think we know exactly what the other team.
Right, but even if it's at your 60 or 70 you're talking about, that's still pretty high.
Really high.
Yeah, considering you guys are 18s and the level you're playing at. You know what I mean? Like that's still really high. Right?
This is a good commit block team.
Yeah. So commit blocking, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who do know, this will just be a little refresher course. Hopefully, as you go into college, you 18s, I know you guys commit blocked a ton. It's basically you're committing your block on certain hitters based off situation. Say you're down a couple points and you need a stuff block to get back into the match. You can use a commit block, take a little risk. But again, it's based on knowledge and data of where you know the ball's going to go, like Brian said. So I know Jimmy, he's a really good coach and he charts really well. So he knows and he charts other teams. So he knows exactly what the other team is running. Okay. So if your coach can do that, or it doesn't have to be during the match, it can be between matches. If you know where the ball's going to go, where the setter wants to go in different rotations, you can commit block and send your block to certain hitters in certain situations. Even if you have 3 hitters, you can still commit block and leave 1 hitter open. Okay, and I know I think everyone's biggest fear is to leave a hitter wide open, which is why the commit part about commit blocking is hard for I think this level, is because they don't want to be wrong and give up a wide open hit. So I know that's a fear for a lot of us, but if we're calling a commit block, whether it's from you or from the coaching staff that you're under, it's not your fault if you commit on the middle and they set the red or something like that. So and that's why it's called a commit block. You're not reading, you're just committing yourself to certain hitters.
I think that's the best part about it is that, like, I tell Anna, you got to go commit, and then I'm wrong, and she commits, and she gets to look at me and be like, "That's your fault, Brian. You're the one that did that." You know, and that's why I like it.
Only if she commits, though. If she doesn't commit, and then it might be her fault. But yeah, absolutely. You can. This is the one time if Jimmy is calling a commit block and he's wrong, you can turn around and yell at Jimmy. You know, but I don't think Jimmy's wrong very often. So another thing about commit blocking is, since you know where the ball is going, you want to max jump, right? On read blocking, sometimes you don't get your max jump because you're again reading, or you're reading where the ball is going. Sometimes you're late, so you don't get your max jump. But on a commit block, which you'll see some examples of, I have one of Lydia, I think, where you're just committing yourself and you're getting as high as you possibly can, even if the hitter is not set. The opposing hitter is not set. You're just maxing out jump and getting as big as you can over the net. So it should, in theory, be a little easier to block the opposing team when you have a commit block happening. Anna, what did you guys use for, like, how did you guys relay the commit blocks to your team?
We did numbers. So Brian would be on the sidelines, or Jimmy. Most of the time it was Jimmy, I think. But he would give us a number, and then I think it was like 2, 3, and 4.
It was 2 and 3, but how would you give it to your team? Like how?
So basically, I would just put it like behind my back and kind of like show my pins, and that's kind of how it went. Or I would just like tell them verbally. Sweet,
yeah. So, like Anna said, they use again based on coaching staff, you can use different numbers, I guess. But because we use how I like to remember, we use a 6 serving zone system. So there's a commit 2, commit 3, commit 4. So commit 2 is essentially when the right side blocker in area 2 is committing. Normally, again, there's a lot of different variations of commit blocking, but just for the sheer basics, it's when the right side blocker in area 2 is committing. Yeah, Jess, thanks. Pulling up, it's when the right side blocker is committing on the middle.
Area 2, right here.
Yeah, this is Jimmy's chart, so we can all thank Jimmy for this. So where Jez's arrow is, this is a commit 2 block. When the right side is blocking and committing on the middle blocker, and the middle blocker and outside are committing on the right side. Okay, so there's also a case right below it, or no, where is the other one, Jez?
Right below it is if they run the gap.
No, that's, yeah. So right below it is when they run a gap, the right side's going to commit on the gap. Okay. So that's area 2. Area 3 is when the middle is committing on the middle. So we have 2 examples as well when the middle is committing on a 1 and a gap. So the bottom one here is a gap.
It'd be right.
And
No, it's this one right here. Yeah.
so that's an area 3 commit on the middle, on the opposing middle running a gap. And then go up, Jez. I think Jimmy has one where they're running a 1.
I think so too. Hold on. It might be. No, that's not it. Yeah,
Okay.
here, right here.
So this is a commit 3 with the opposing team running a red 1 go.
So you have a question here too, Asuka. It says, so behind middle's back would be the number 2. I think that was Anna, and she was saying, yeah, she would hold the number 2 up.
Yeah. So if say Jimmy gives Anna a commit 2 block or commit 2 system, right? Anna or the middle blocker will relay that to the team by putting the number behind her back. And again, just the reason why she puts it behind her back so the other team doesn't know what you're doing. Because if you know what, I guess if you know that we're commit blocking, you can just set the other way and have no one up. But that's why she tries to hide it behind her back, and so she'll put 2, 3, or 4 behind her back.
It also helps setting up defense too. Like liberos and around that because then it's all related. So they can scheme and play differently defensively.
Yeah, that I think. Yeah, we'll get into that if we do another clinic, but because that's a whole nother thing. We're just trying to cover the basics real quick on commit blocking. So the most popular or the most used commit block would be probably area 4 commit, which Jez, if you want to pull up the top one here, it's when the outside moves all the way in and commits on the middle blocker. So this is when they're running a 1 where the arrow is, and then even if the other team is running a gap, you'll see the outside hitter move all the way over like that to front the gap and commit on the gap. Okay. So the question again a lot is if say on the top scenario, right? The opposing team sets a red. Okay, so there's no one blocking that, and like we said earlier, that's okay, right? Because we're expecting them not to set it. If they do set it once, then we're basically giving that up. Okay, and another situation, I think Brian covered this in our conversation, our first episode, I think, when the opposing team as their setter in the front row, our area 4 blocker should almost be in a commit 4 almost essentially every time, unless the setter is a huge dumping threat or something. You want to bunch all the way over and be basically committing on a front row when the other team has a front row setter almost every time. I think that's the most basic area 4 commit you can have. Anything you want to add to that, Brian?
He's shaking his head.
Okay, cool. And then last thing on commit blocking, it's a little different than the eye work is a little different than read blocking. So Brian went over ball setter, ball hitter. Commit blocking's a lot different actually. So the first step is still determining where the pass is. Obviously if it's an overpass, you want to still crush the ball. And then depending how far the ball is off the net, then you might want to get out of the commit block and go to read blocking. But again, this depends on setters, right? If you're playing against Brian, who's a Olympian, at 12 to 15 feet, you're still going to want to commit on the middle blocker because he can still feed the ball to the middle, right? But I think at the level we're all at right now currently, we're 18 and under. I think 12 feet to 15 feet off, you might want to go into a read block. But again, it depends on the setter. Right? If the opposing setter doesn't run any middle from off the net, then once the ball goes off the net, then you want to go into a read block. But again, depending on the opposing setter and their skill level, that's how you determine if you stay in the commit block or you go into the read block. Anything else?
Ready for some clips when you are.
Okay. Oh, the last thing is, and commit blocking we normally use for only on first ball. Obviously that can change if the setter has the same tendency throughout the entire rally, but normally as coaches, we chart first ball and then we go into a read block after that. All right. So if you want to pull up USC Stanford again at 411.
Area 4 commit.
Area 4 commit.
411. Sorry for the delay.
You're good, man. So as you can see here, right, the left side block for USC is going to shift all the way over in front even though the set's off the net, she still gets all the way in front. Okay, and you can see the middle blocker and the right side blocker already getting ready to go outside and form a big block there. Okay, she didn't jump on that because obviously the ball was off the net, but that's essentially a commit 4, and you'll see the next example of her actually jumping. So if you want to go to 758, Jez. I think this is the one, right, Jez, where she jumps?
I think so.
Hey, Asuka, that's a really good clip too. Like, I don't know if you want to talk about this because I didn't miss. We weren't talking about team blocking, but how their footwork is. You see how they're in unison. A lot of times we talk about getting shoulder to shoulder, and that's the thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you want to go back, then Jez, 411. Sorry.
Perfect. 411.
Like Brian was saying on the clip before, the right. You're talking about the middle and right side, right?
Because you
Yeah,
can. A lot of times they feel jammed up. You can. This is a really good example of footwork here and how it works and how she goes. The middle's right step comes off the net so that.
Pause it, Jez. So real quick, what Brian's talking about, even though we know where the ball's going, a lot of times we don't get shoulder to shoulder because either the right side blocker is not moving over or so the middle blocker feels stuck. And then when that happens, they don't close the seam. So in this case, they're both in unison. The middle, if you watch the middle and right side blocker here, right, they're basically going at the same time. Look at their footwork in unison, and they close the block.
And
Right.
so it's a lot of trust because you're trusting that you're both moving at the same time. You know, that you're both getting there.
And I think the common thing is we're afraid to run into our right side blocker as middles. But essentially, did someone say something?
We have a question?
Someone said something. Whoa, cool! Someone's talking like a robot, and that's amazing. So whoever,
Awesome. Whoever's the robot, please.
Please
Yeah.
keep talking.
Yeah, I think you're more. Whoa. All right.
Well, back to the footwork thing. Brett.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really good example, like Brian said, of getting shoulder to shoulder, block being in unison. So I want to go to 758, Jez.
Yes, I will. 750.
So this is an example of the same blocker, area 4 blocker, actually jumping on the middle, and she gets her max jump, and the hitter sees this and tips the ball. Okay, so that's a commit 4 block right there, where the area 4 blocker, which is the outside hitter here, gets her max jump, gets over the net, gets big, and forces the opposing middle to tip the ball.
Look at where the left front is, like the left back is. I know that's for a later.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
But so when you're running this system, if you are committing, that's the space that you want to step up into. See how she has a little more. Look at where right back is compared to where left back is. So the reason why she's about 2 feet. By the way, you don't want your feet to be this wide. That's not
good, guys.
not how wide you want your feet to be in that position. That's not a good look. So actually, all of them are all too wide.
Yeah.
So I got to call.
At least they're on the ground though. At least they're stopped. Like, we'll give them that.
I'll tell you what, you got to screenshot this clip. I'm going to send it to Keller and be like, I got practice 1 for you over there, buddy. So there's like
Jez, don't go, by the way. This is a good clip to show her hands above the net too, but keep going, Brian.
but you can see so how the libero in the left back steps front. So she's getting closer to the court because oftentimes that's what a middle does. Anytime a middle's taught, when you have a full commit in front of you, you're taught to tip it right over the block. So that's who's covering that space in this situation. When you're running this system, it's important to kind of cover all your bases.
You guys, Sydney raised her hand. Sydney, do you have a question? Would you like to unmute yourself and ask a question? Or was that just an accident? Sydney? No?
Well, less fun. I thought it was going to be fun. Now it's less fun.
Guess
All right.
not. All right.
All right, so real quick, don't play, Jess. So look at because your vision as a commit blocker, you're watching the hitter. She sees the hitter wanting to go that way, so she drops her left hand into that zone. This is a pretty big move, pretty big block. Heads above the net. It's a good commit block. All right, let's go to AJV now.
2205.
2205. This is now 18 Roche again.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't even know what this clip is. Oh yeah, this is Ella going all the way over.
Oh.
Yeah, but not all the way. She doesn't make it all the way over, but this is still a example of a commit 4 block. She jumps.
But here's the thing, though, that you have to give her Ella. This is look. This is super aggressive, and that's hard for anyone. It's
I
like
agree. That's why I use this one. You know?
and even at the top level, like national team guys, there's like an invisible wall that goes down the middle of the court for some reason that left sides feel like they can never go further than that. So like the fact that Ella's past the invisible wall that goes down the middle of the court,
Huge thing.
I agree. Like, nice job, Ella. Sorry.
Ella, real quick, unmute yourself. What were you thinking here when Anna was basically in your zone? Like, you know, you didn't want to push her, but what were you thinking here? You know?
Get out of my way.
Yeah. So in this situation, you know, Ella could have pushed Anna a little bit more just to get her out of her zone so she could get super in front. But this is a good example of an outside hitter, again, passing that invisible middle line, getting all the way to the gap, and jumping, committing yourself to the block. This is really, really good. Okay. Let's go to Laguna, Jez.
We did actually have a question
Oh, yeah.
that was posed. This might be at Brian because you actually talked about this. This has nothing to do with commit blocking.
Okay.
But
Sweet.
somebody asked about recovery moves. Do you think it would be better if you're super late to pull off the net and play some defense, or go and try and stuff the ball?
Really? Who asked that question?
PG.
PG.
Who?
Peyton George.
Jane George.
Good question. So yeah, that's sometimes if you commit and you know you're a big jumper, you jump 45 inches and you land, and there's there's like situations where it's better to just turn where you jump and there's no possible way for you to get there, which does happen. Turn and cover. You know, turn, get in the net, make yourself available. You're never out of the play, ever out of the play as a middle. So that's a really, really good question. Is that what she was asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have those. You do have that option. I forgot to mention that. It's a really good question. Thanks for saying that. I meant to, but that's dead on. I'd rather you recover and go get your hands on that ball. You're a middle blocker. You know, you're not a middle coverer. So go block the ball and then cover if you must.
All right. Good question, PG. So the next example here is again, commit 4, but when the middle is running a slide, I think. Hopefully this is the clip.
It's a little blurry.
We have Ella against Lil Blurry.
There
But
we
as
go.
you can see here, she's following where the middle is going on a slide. I know they don't run the slide, but that was a commit 4. She was going to go follow her, and you see the middle blocker and the right side hitter getting the outside hitter.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's another good example of a commit floor. You have 2 blockers on the outside, and you have Ella just committing to the slide if they set it. Okay, and our last one is HJV, Jess. I think this is Amara.
26-21. I think this is the one where we
I
talked
think
about
she
this.
jumps a little early, but she gets really, really high on this one. So.
This is actually the part where we talked about if they set overhead, what we want them to do.
Oh yeah, so this is don't play it yet. This is a good example then of, I think Jimmy calls a commit 4 here, but he is wrong for once in his life, and they set the red, no one up, and they put the ball away. So again, this is going to happen when you commit block from time to time.
Yeah. By the way, the way that I describe that's great though. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, look at that.
The way that we often talk about it or describe it is, look, when something like this happens, first of all, poor Anna.
I know.
So Anna gets hung out to dry here. If this happens and you're on defense and you're running a commit play and you're not in a read block situation, then and you give up or something like this occurs, which does happen from time to time, just get back, read it, and try to make a play and play some defense. You know, put your helmet on. But it's the way we talk about this is if we make a call, we make a decision, we decide that there's a chance that we think they're going to set this and they go the other way, and they make a good play, we call it just a little golf clap.
Yeah.
So everyone just say, hey, nice play by them, golf clap, we out, move on, next play, done.
I put this clip in there just to show, again, Max jumping on a commit block. As you can see, Amara, she's already on her way down and her head is still over the net.
Yeah.
Okay,
geez.
so it's, again, a good example. All right, moving on to probably the rarest. The reason why we're going to commit to next is because it's the same video. Commit to is probably the most rare one, just because a lot of people have an option to the outside hitter because that's normally where they go with a lot of sets. So, but in this case right here, we run a commit to here with Lydia. Okay, as you can see, there's no outside right there, and she gets really big on this. I don't know what this is, but it's again, and forces the middle hitter to tip the ball. Okay, right there. Good pause, Jazz. It's a good commit block there.
I think my money right here. Let me slow it down for you guys too. So step over real early right here.
So as you can see, Lydia's eyes are already on the hitter. Now it goes to the setter, but then she gets really big here and jumps on there.
Cool.
And then the last commit to would be 3154, Jez. So this is Zoe. She doesn't jump here, but she fronts the gap on the next play, Jez. Okay.
3150.
As you can see, Anna and Amara are taking the right side hitter. There is an option on the outside, but if Zoe's there for the gap. If they set the gap, she's ready to block that ball. Okay, so this is an area 2. Anna is committing herself to the right side.
That's nice.
Yeah, forms a good block. Yeah, so that's an area 2 commit example. All right, 1048, Jez, commit 3.
On this one?
Yeah. So we only have two more clips, guys. So hang in there.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We're hanging out. I'm gonna be on here for another 2 hours just talking. You guys want to hang out? I'm here. Let's hang out. So
this one, Alyssa doesn't get all the way in front of the gap here, but gets enough in front on here. This is a commit 3 where the middle Alyssa is committing on the opposing middle.
Okay.
Okay, and then she jumps on the middle. So this is an example of a commit 3. Okay. The last one is actually we're using another team against you guys, Brian.
What?
Yeah, this is Legacy now.
Oh, yep, Legacy.
Yeah.
This
is not you getting blocked, Anna. Don't worry. I don't think it is actually, but this is again. Yeah. So, Legacy here runs a commit 3. And the outside hitter also jumps. So they're basically double committing on you, Anna, which is a compliment, I would say.
Oh, I know. I know what happened here. I remember this.
You can play it.
Nice.
Okay, so Anna essentially takes 2 blockers out of the play and lets, who is that, Amara? Oh, no. Ella go one-on-one and crushes the ball. So good job, Anna. But as you can see, the other team, okay, double commit right here in the middle. They both commit themselves, and then, yeah. So that's
Can we go back, Brent?
Yeah.
Sure.
So what?
I just want to see the start of this. First of all, this is a great set, Kendall, if you're here. Okay. I had to see something actually. My coach, look, guys, my coach brain hasn't been working in a long time, so it's just like firing. I was like, I had to watch Ella's first step there. I was literally still watching your first step, just to let you know. I was still like, let's go back. I made the sorry, still coaching here, I guess. Can't quit it.
I felt like I knew you were gonna say something.
Did you? Sorry, I was gonna say it was a really nice shot. It was a really, really nice shot. Really good stuff. I was curious about, and it looked better. It was better. It was good.
Oh wow, Henry's here. He must have came like when it was over. I mean, jeez. Good job, Henry.
Well, I've been on for like 15 minutes. I had the other call.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I did have a question though that I was trying to ask Brian. Your commit block call is middle centric, so you're calling who your blocker is going to commit on the opposing middle.
I mean, there's tons of different ways to do it. That's the way that we chose to do it. I think mainly we were just. It's
the most probably simplest form to teach. I mean,
okay.
Again, there's a lot of other ways you can do it.
So, I mean, that was just, there's different, the truth is if you want to go through like different one time we actually tried to break down all the different variations between a block and a defense, and the amount of differences was just astounding. Like you literally couldn't even track it trying to make that. So do you mean Henry, revolved around the middle? He's just talking about how we're calling the zones?
Yeah, so you say you're like commit blocking 2, then it's your person in zone 2 is committing on the opposing middle.
Yeah, for that stuff. But yeah, there's tons of different stuff. That's what we went over today. But obviously you can commit. I like, especially for this level, The second that anything's pulled off the net, you end up at like 10 feet or anything from like 8 feet, 7 feet on. Generally speaking, at this level is a lot of go, a lot of force.
Yeah.
So in terms of there, running a simple trap where automatically going to the outside is, but you can call that, you can call that an area 4 commit or a trap. There's tons of different language as long as everyone just knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's why I was asking, because usually for the boys, the middle isn't the problem. It's like the outside or the oppo. So we would do zones. So we went like red, white, and blue. So you would commit on the zone, middle of the net, right side of the net, left side of the net.
I actually had a clip of a split commit block. I think what you're talking about, where one block goes to one pin and 2 blocks go to the other pin when the middle's not a threat. But again, I just try to keep it as basic as possible for right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's tons of good. There's so many different guys. There's so many different things that you can do that we don't even talk about, like just in terms of blocking, like that we never even get to. Like, for example, just like in the middle, like all of a sudden there's so many different little things. Like if I see a middle blocker on the other side who never hits straight away and is really good about hitting the left and hitting the right sharp angles, then a lot of times we'll teach our middle blockers to go up and V block. So they'll actually get super, super wide and make a V. Brazil does this a ton, and they're really good at it, and I hate it. And we literally we're telling our middles when we play Brazil, one of them's a big V blocker, and he's good. And we tell our middles, hit right at his head. Hit right straight down the pipe, because he traditionally just B blocks on anything in the middle. And so, but you use that against guys that are really rangy and don't have middle, like David Smith, the guy that is a middle blocker on the national team. I would V block against him all day long. There's other little things that you can do too, like, for example, a split block. So we don't really even get to that point here at this level, but like a split block, if I'm looking at a hitter and I look at their shot chart and I see an outside hitter that hits one shot super sharp and hits one line, which happens often. There's a lot of hitters that they have one primary shot and one secondary shot at this level, and that's pretty much it. And so a lot of times all I want to do, we actually did it a little bit last year. Hopefully we're going to get to it this year, but we didn't. But we'll split block on purpose. We'll literally have our middle not close the block on purpose. So we'll have a middle stop short, about 4 feet short, and leave a huge hole and keep area 6 right in middle back, especially if we have the liberos that we had on this squad. So you have like a Crystal and a Vanessa, you just have them in area 6 digging, because just in case, if they normally don't even hit that shot. So you just give it up. And so there's lots of different little variations where you're taking away both those shots by split blocking, by actually doing the thing that you're taught not to do, right? You're never taught to actually leave a seam. But under this circumstance, it's actually better to do that. And we've turned some matches on just doing something really, really small like that, actually. There was someone that was good at split blocking last year. Was it Mackey? Might have been Mackey.
I think it was.
Mackey.
Mackey.
When in doubt, attribute it to Mackey.
I'll tell you what, though, I think there was one time where Mackey actually did a split block